still in production, yeah. They've gotten a lot of really interesting information and interviews, but you know, this is a story that's been around for a long time and has a lot of layers, so we don't really know where it's going to go. What's it? Oh, Polybius Mystery, Polybius mystery @gmail.com. So yeah, keep in touch with them, and they'll be back in Portland, I'm sure, shooting more footage and doing interviews at some point soon. Hopefully we can hear from them soon. Go ahead.
And that's what your involvement with the film is?
They interviewed me and one of Ground Control's owners for it, because we've all heard stories about it over the years. So it's, you know, it's a Portland urban legend, supposedly, or maybe a real game. No one really knows. So, yeah. If anyone else has any other questions, you're more than welcome. I don't have a lot of information about the game myself, but I'm happy to try and take a question too. Go ahead.
What are some stories you've heard?
The basic gist is the game made people crazy, made people sick, it messed with their emotions. Mysterious people would show up, take readings from the game would disappear from arcades after only being there for a day or two, or you know, a short period of time, things like that.
What are the locations that they explained that it was at? Or is it still there back then?
No. Basically, every single arcade that existed, you know, around that time in Portland is now something else. You know, it's closed. So Portland is the main one. Some people have said like Malibu Grand Prix, which is out in like Beaverton, as one location, but I don't have any other specific locations that have been cited. Go ahead.
Yeah, when the film is done, were you guys planning to premiere it, or how are you going to distribute it, or what are you going to do with it when it's complete?
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully someone will pick it up and distribute it. I really don't have any information on that yet. They're still trying to finish it and collect as much as they can before they try to release it. But yeah, it'll hopefully be, you know, in theaters even, but certainly online when it's done. Anyone else? Go ahead.
How many Polybius cabinets are known to exist? Do you know?
I don't know that anyone's really said that. I mean, I think the theory is maybe it was only one or two or a handful, but I don't know that anyone's really said. I don't think it was ever like an actual production machine, according to what people say, like some kind of prototype. Because location testing was really big, you know, back when arcades were popular. Games would come and go all the time. So, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I just remembered something.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, just something that someone pulled up, but I heard that someone found a cabinet in 2011.
Yeah, I heard that too. But nothing ever came of that. That was on maybe like one website, and they were saying like Newport or Seaside or something. That's what I heard. But Lincoln City? Okay, yeah. And there's arcades, you know, there now. There certainly were a lot of arcades back in the day, but I never heard anything beyond that first article about that. So I don't really know. Go ahead.
Have the filmmakers ever been approached by anybody about, I mean, you know, the Men in Black mysterious. I thought it was funny that they didn't show up to the
I don't know. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I haven't heard of any stories of them being approached by anybody like that, but certainly a lot of people have come out of the woodwork with stories that they, you know, they claim to have information, or they think that, you know, they know someone that knows something, that sort of thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Is there a general consensus about what year, about what exact time this kind of started with the origin?
Let's say early 80s.
Okay, so that's about as specific as people can get?
I haven't heard anything specific beyond that.
Okay.
And the story didn't really propagate until, you know, internet was a big thing in the early 2000s, so it's hard to say. Go ahead.
Do you know the actual proper pronunciation of Polybius?
I say Polybius. I don't know if anyone really knows necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The mystery. Oh.
That's part of the mystery. Go ahead.
Has anyone ever talked to, or that you know of, talked to any of the arcade owners?
Those are the kind of people we're trying to reach more of, or they're trying to reach more of, I should say, because I try to connect them with as many people as I could. But there aren't a lot of people that are still around that operated arcades, you know, in the early 80s necessarily. Clay, the owner that was interviewed in there, people say it feels like it was like something like Tempest, or maybe like a weird variation of something like that.
Okay.
So that's the rumor that I've heard the most, is it's similar to Tempest. Sorry, you first.
Do you know if the filmmakers are going to be doing any other speaking engagements, or do they have a website, is there anything else?
There's no, right, there's no website right now. They had a Kickstarter for a while that they only reached about half of their goal for it. That may still be online, but polybiusmystery@gmail.com, and also I believe Polybius Mystery on Twitter is active, so you can keep up with them there. They haven't announced any other speaking engagements that I know of, but yeah, we hope to bring them back out here at some point. Not only to interview people, but also to share what they've learned so far. Go ahead.
What are some of the theories that people have brought up behind it?
I mean, the most prominent one is that it was some kind of conspiracy, like some kind of government thing, mind control, things like that. That's the one that seems to be the most popular, but I think it's also the story that's kind of the most exciting for people. So I don't really know much about what it actually was.
I've heard a theory floating around, some variations on it, but the general, most specific one I found is that it was some independent government contractor had built it, and it was for unconventional warfare program to collect data on,
Sure.
I guess, human responses to subliminal messages or something.
Yeah.
Like images and like flashes, like some of the people said that you have a seizure after
Yeah.
it has something to do with it.
Yeah, and I've heard that too. That people have definitely talked about things like that. And there were stories of people getting sick or having weird responses to games that were unrelated to this, but that's definitely a popular theory about it. Go ahead, you in the hat first.
I'm wondering if it's like with MK Ultra, there was the whole for training operatives to slip LSD into people's stuff and like give it to them without them knowing about it. I wonder if maybe Polybius is just a normal game, and maybe they slip LSD on you somehow while you're playing it, and that's where all these things come from.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
don't
think,
know.
though?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. Yeah. The guy next to you had one. Did you still have a question?
Yeah. How do you think this rumor really caught on? Because someone else can be like, whoa, dude, there's this other arcade. How is this kind of like? How did this kind of like really just kind of hold on to?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you saw in that new footage that they released, Kat Despera's story about her friend saying, "Oh, there's this game downtown that people are making people, giving them weird reactions and stuff like that." I think it's just whether it was a different game that they were talking about or was this game. It's something that people get scared by, so they want to dig into it. I think is kind of the idea. Is it freaks people out, so they want to learn more, but they're also kind of scared of it too.
And
What's that?
how can you tell if somebody's not telling the truth?
Yeah, I don't know if you really can. That's another thing that's interesting about this for them and everybody that tries to find out about it is no one has come forward with any definitive proof, and everyone that seems to have proof kind of seems to be making it up, perhaps. You and the
Yeah. So you mentioned you don't really know why they're not here as filmmakers.
I don't.
So I was wondering, is it possible that their non-presence is a sort of tongue-in-cheek nod to the conspiracy?
Blair Witch.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It was a last-minute cancellation, unfortunately.
How do we know that it's
Go ahead.
Yeah, in the mid-90s, CBS News ran a piece on subliminal messaging in games Zoo. Did the Polybius legend exist before that time, or do you think it might have been spurred by the news story of the game doing subliminal messaging?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I think the first record that I know of anyone talking about this game was on like an internet news group in like the early 2000s, I think. I don't have the exact date, but if you Google it, there's some references to it. So anything before that, I don't know if there's anything in print or anywhere that anyone has been able to dig up. So it could be. Go ahead.
related around that time? I mean,
Right.
it seems like that.
The stories that are like more confirmable are related to other games. You know, like there was someone that had like a basically like a heart attack after leaving an arcade and things like that. But they were playing, you know, other games supposedly. No one ever mentioned Polybius by name or anything like that. So there's nothing concrete for sure. Linked to that game that we know of that anyone has been able to confirm.
Relating to the whole MK Ultra thing that was being mentioned over there, one aspect of that also floats around, might have something to do with Polybius, I'm not quite sure, is that I think around the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, they tested like LSD and different sort of brainwashing techniques on prisoners, on convicts, and sometimes this would like make them go completely insane. I believe there was a serial killer who they tested on in prison and kind of like snapped even more than he already was. Like he couldn't even like talk anymore. Like he kind of went kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, there's that. This is what's interesting about this is there's a lot of stuff that either relate to this or not that could be true or could not be true or certainly a good story.
I mean, there were like reports of I guess prisoners
Yeah.
who would like some who just kind of vanish from prison. Like some they get a call from some government agency and they move to a unspecified secondary facility and no one ever heard from them again.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't heard about that stuff, but that's interesting. And again, if anyone has anything that they want to share with these guys, make sure you do, because who knows, it could lead to something or someone for them to talk to. You in the jacket right there.
Is there any theories that involve like the name Polybius? Because it's kind of an ominous name. Like, it just kind of seems, maybe it'll break the mystery. Like I don't know, I haven't heard any theories maybe you might know that involve.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe Dan has something to say about that. I know Dan. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. It was a philosopher, a Greek philosopher.
Oh,
Like this.
okay.
Kind of random, but
Yeah.
that's why.
Look into that actually.
You right there.
Yeah, we've seen pictures of the cabinet supposedly.
Sure, I've seen those too.
But has anyone actually seen this cabinet, or are we just assuming that it looks like that?
That's the thing, and I think all the pictures that you've seen are probably Photoshop jobs or doctored or just someone trying to, either get attention or steer people in the wrong direction. I think. I don't know of any single concrete or like verified image of this game. And I think the one picture that comes up a lot is not even from the 80s. It's like in someone's storage unit or something, and I think they probably just made it and posted it online. Go ahead.
I kind of have a theory about how they might have, on what he said, the way they could have administered a drug is by coding the buttons, or if it had a joystick or whatever it used. That might be why they would have returned daily, just to make sure it was coded and pretend to go into the back or something.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that theory. That's pretty devious and kind of scary. So
it kind of makes sense to me.
Please don't get any ideas from anything you hear in here. Don't put your ground controls and code yourself on our games.
Yeah, mess up.
Because that's really terrifying. I think I saw you first, and then you after that. Go ahead.
Has there been any proof showing the involvement of Atari Battlezone with the release of Polybius?
Not that I know of. The guy that made Battlezone, I think, did have like a government contract. Like he did a version of it for like military training, and some people have maybe talked about that, but nothing really beyond that I know of. Go ahead.
Okay, so to what point did you actually start considering that this might be real? Because it really sounds like, and even throughout the footage, it's all based off rumor, not exact, like, I have seen this sort of proof, just like, oh, I heard it from a friend. And to make it worse, it sounds like teenagers. So at what point was it proven enough to you guys, at least, to start investigating that it might actually exist? And if so, what is kind of the point of this documentary? To prove that it exists, or to find out more information, or?
Sure. Well, the filmmakers, like, my involvement is more just as someone that's heard the story a lot, and I'm interested to see where this goes to. So, I don't, like, the filmmakers' intention really is to just follow every thread they can as far as it goes. And a lot of them are going nowhere, but there might be one that goes somewhere. And maybe it'll end up that they'll actually uncover it. Maybe they'll uncover what is more likely to be the truth, or maybe they'll get nowhere and they'll just get a lot of interesting stories and it'll just continue. Because the story has like been so persistent over the years that, you know, anyone that's been in the arcade industry for a little while eventually hears about it. And then someone has a story or someone that knows someone or whatever. So I think they're just trying to kind of try and collect as many of these stories as possible and just see what comes of it. You know, they really don't know where it's going to go.
Okay, so they're not sure it actually exists.
No, I don't know. I don't think any of them are necessarily sure it exists. I'm not sure it exists. Sometimes I'm willing to believe it. Sometimes I think it's just a lot of stories that are getting confused with each other. But yeah, I'm more interested just to see if where it goes to. Go ahead.
What was the Atari game that was mentioned?
Battlezone.
So that's
It's out there, actually.
Yeah, you can play it out there. It's a first person. It's like a vector game. It's like kind of pseudo 3D, and you're operating a tank and you're shooting it. It's a really neat game. And the guy that made that, I'm speaking just from memory, so I might have the details wrong, but the government wanted him to make a military training simulator because the technology was, you know, was that good at that time.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is kind of a silly question, but I've been hearing that Polybius was some sort of Greek philosopher. Has there been any sort of tied connections to any of his philosophy teachings or anything regarding this person in terms of why the machine is called Polybius?
Sure. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. And if you search around or Google stuff, you might turn up with someone that has some theories about that. I really don't know.
One of his major things was that you can't, the historians can't record history unless they can speak to somebody who was had firsthand knowledge of that history.
Okay. That's interesting.
Right? You
We're all learning something.
really figure out if it's real without
Yeah.
actually figuring it out.
Well, and that's something that you saw at the end of the footage. Clay alluded to, like he was saying that he thinks that, you know, the path is pretty short, but whether or not you reach someone that's willing to talk about it is the real question. So I think that's also part of the challenge, is finding someone that's actually willing to talk about it, and who knows why they would or wouldn't be willing to talk about it. So yeah, it may be completely unverifiable, but go ahead. Did you have something else to say?
Yeah, are there like any suicide that would coincide with when this room was
There's stories about stuff like that for sure, and there's stories that it messes with people's ability to feel emotions one way or the other, whether they're constantly happy or constantly sad.
Like I heard stories, not completely unrelated, but I've heard stories about people that'll like commit suicide, murder suicide, whatever, and then their bodies disappear from the morgue.
Yeah,
On those-
that's creepy. Does anyone else have anything, questions or anything? Go ahead.
Have you, I mean, having been sort of in the arcade industry for a while, have you heard people's story, like stories from people who might either knew somebody or like had supposedly played it themselves?
I don't know anybody personally, but you know, there are definitely people out there that, you know, have posted on the internet primarily about knowing something or having seen it or knowing someone that's played it. I don't know anyone personally that's claimed to have played it, because I would definitely have a lot of questions for them.
Yeah.
if they said that. Someone else maybe had their hand up for a second. Go ahead.
Especially within the past 5 or 10 years, with a little bit of information about MK Ultra that are getting confirmed and are getting declassified. Do you think that lends credit towards the myth or takes it away, since we still haven't heard it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not personally familiar with any of that information that you're referring to. I really don't know. It could do one or the other for sure. I could see it either lending more fuel to the fire or maybe, you know, demystifying it and saying that it's just that was that thing and this is something completely else or something made up, or I don't know. Yeah, and it may be decades before we really hear any concrete information that is related to this. I don't know. Go ahead.
This is more of a comment. for a source of information about MKUltra and COINTELPRO and an excellent and very well-researched Pulitzer Prize-winning book, I recommend Legacy of Ashes. It did win a Pulitzer Prize. And the things that it did lay out were very specific, very well-researched and evidenced about how MKUltra happened, what happened to it, who was involved. It's undisputed. But it also laid out many of the ways in which the CIA used disinformation campaigns to put rumors out there so that people would spend so much time focusing on one thing, they would focus on that when something else was actually going on, a bait and switch. So if anybody's interested in the background on that, that is an excellent book to start at.
Okay. And again, none of this is all just us talking. None of this is to do with the Retro Gaming Expo. This is not there to spread any conspiracies or not doing anything like this, because obviously some stories like this go pretty deep and they get into pretty serious stuff. Go ahead.
What do you think the likelihood of it being true is?
I would only say 50-50. I really don't know. Maybe even less than that. But sometimes, I don't know. Like I said, sometimes I'm willing to believe it. Sometimes it just seems like it's not possible that it ever existed. I don't know. But it's really, right now, it's up to the individual to decide, and that's why they're trying to kind of figure out for themselves what this thing is, or maybe that it was nothing after all.
You said the book was called Legacy?
Legacy of Ashes. It's a history of the FBI. I don't remember the guy's name. He also, or I'm sorry, it's a history of the CIA. He also wrote another book about the history of the FBI. It's excellent as well.
And you in the back had something?
I just had another comment. I honestly think that it would be more accurate for them to put LSD or whatever without anybody knowing about it in Battle Zone rather than Polybius.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you have to lean into it and have your face
Right.
pressed in this blackness.
Yeah.
I mean, you're more likely to be getting it on you.
Yeah.
It would depend on how it was
I
delivered.
don't know. That's interesting. So I think I should probably wrap it up. Do you have one more thing to say? Sure.
So like how, because the reason why people think it's an FBI thing, or
Yeah.
like a, mostly, or like the reason why they think it's tied to the FBI and MKUltra, is it due to the quote unquote like Men in Black appearing and looking at it, or is it due to like just the stuff that was going on at the time? Because it's kind of far-fetched and you say like, oh yeah, there's this arcade machine that causes
Sure.
these, problems. It's related to MKUltra. It's kind of like a weird like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's just people, connecting things to each other because whether it be like, who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why people would think that one has something to do with the other, and it's the fact that that is something that people know existed or know existed to some extent. I think they want to connect it to that probably because it makes it more real, but I don't really know. But you're
I'm just curious if everyone ever put out a theory like perhaps someone was just testing a new game and it started causing seizure, like, oh shit, we don't want these seizures.
I've thought that too. Someone has definitely said that, and that could be maybe the most likely. I don't know.
Occam's razor.
Very likely too, because again, in those days, games came and went all the time, and they were a lot of technology was advancing rapidly, and maybe someone did just make a game that wasn't healthy for people to play, and so they got rid of it.
Wouldn't there be like a patent or something on that? I mean, there could be something.
Not necessarily. I mean, things moved so fast, and no one knew what they were doing at that point. That not necessarily, unless they felt like they actually wanted to go into production with it. You wouldn't have to put a patent on it. You could just put it in an arcade, and someone would be like, sure, I'll operate your game for as long as people play it or something. So not necessarily. Go ahead.
So if you ever did come across Polybius, would you play it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, maybe, or maybe I'd be too scared. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah, so a couple years ago, Joe Strecker had a presentation, and Joe did a lot of research into it and did like an hour-long talk on it. That was really fascinating. Joe did really comprehensive, and Joe landed on basically thinking that it wasn't real, it was just urban legend. But now these guys are kind of trying to dig even deeper, Strecker. He does a lot of Portland history stuff. He does lectures and stuff like that. He has a podcast too, so look him up. Let's do one more question or comment, and then I should wrap it up. Anybody else? One more thing? You?
Are the filmmakers looking into any possible lawsuits that occurred with the deaths of these supposed people?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to ask them about that. I really don't know. Dan, do you have anything final to say? You know a lot about theory.
Thanks. Well, a couple things that weren't mentioned. Excuse me. It was supposedly developed by a German company called Sennislotion, which I suppose translates into deletion of senses, which ties into some of the things that, again, all I'm doing is repeating the legends, the rumors. Some of the things that would happen, like people would go blind for a while, or deaf or something. I don't think we brought that up. One of the arcades that I've heard was named specifically on Sandy, what is now the Blue Diamond Bar.
Sorry, couldn't hear anything.
Supposedly there was a Polybius there. 81, 82 is what we're generally dealing with. But that, again, may have to do with, like Art was mentioning, it didn't really come up until the internet. Probably just because by nature it is an urban legend and it's just told from one person to the next, that kind of thing. And I thought I had something else. I think it's likely that it was just the working theory is that it was a test mode of Tempest, and then maybe someone who had an epileptic seizure that wasn't quite understood, and then it just kind of grew from there. He told two friends, and they told two friends, and
telephone
so on.
game.
And eventually, there's Men in Black involved in all this, but if nothing else,
it's a telephone game.
Right. If nothing else, it's terribly fascinating and entertaining to read about and learn about. It's spooky and it's fun. It's cool.
Well, thank you, everybody. Sorry it was a weird